and welcome to my book nook.
We are monsters. We give and we take.
For those that are new around here, the name's Rainy. I read all types of books, primarily fantasy romance, so if you're interested in that, please like and subscribe to my channel down below. Today's video is episode 2 in Best, Disappointing, Surprising, and Worst Books of the Year. Yesterday's video was my most disappointing and most surprising books of 2024, so if you missed that video, please make sure to go watch that. Today we're talking about some bad books, okay? These are the worst books that I read in 2024, the top 10, or I guess bottom 10. And they are ranked from to the worst. Now I'm gonna put this disclaimer in there once again. If this is a book that you love, that is fine. I'm glad you love that book. And that's fine that you love that book. But don't come into my comments just defending it and getting mad at me for saying my opinion, because my opinion is my opinion. If you don't want to hear things said about your least favorite book or your favorite book, just skip right along. That's what I would do. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's just get through from number 10 all the way to number 1. Before we dive into my worst books, I do just want to share really quickly my DNFs of the year, because I didn't actually DNF that many books. This is the most books that I've probably DNF'd in a year, and I'm just starting to be okay with DNFing books. So I'm just going to pop up a graphic really quick. These are the 8 books that I DNF'd this year, and that may not be a lot, but it's more than I normally do. And I DNF'd these for some reason or another. I don't really feel like spending time explaining why, because they just didn't work for me. And so if they worked for you, great. If they didn't work for you, also great. But with that being said, we're going to move on. We're going to start with my number 10 book. Now, let me just say, I'm going to have to post a graphic up of most of these books, because obviously if I don't love a book, I'm not going to keep it on my shelves, and I've probably gotten rid of it at this point. So number 10 is a tricky one, because it's not that I didn't like it. I didn't understand a single thing that happened in this book. Like, it was so far above me. I felt so dumb reading it that I was just like, why did I read this? And that is Green Fuse Burning. Now, I do know why I read this. I read this because it was a host favorite from Leandra for the Amazing Readathon, and it was a short book. And you got extra points for reading host favorite books, and so I decided to pick it up. I should have known that that was not going to go well for me, because I don't typically have a great track record with Leandra. Hopefully that changes in our Battle of the Booktubers round, Champion round. But yeah, could I tell you anything of what this book was about? No. Is the cover beyond beautiful? Yes. Is it a bad book? No. I think it was very well written, but it was not a book for me. And so that's why it's on this list, honestly. That's why it's on this list. Sorry, friends. I need to be a little more intellectual, it would seem. Coming in at number 9 is a book that I read very early in the year, and this is also a Leandra thing. Oh, poor Leandra. This is The Woman in the Library, okay? And this was given to me actually as a trade-in for our booktuber taste test, because Leandra was the second person that I invited to do that. And she gave me 3 books, and I DNF'd 2 of the books, and I think kind of liked the other book. And so she gave me like a trade-in option, and I didn't particularly love this either. I think I gave it a 2 or 3 star. Okay, the reason being, it was very easy to read. It was a very quick mystery. Like, the story was actually kind of interesting to read, but the ending was just ridiculous. And there was like a plot point in there that I wasn't really sure why that was happening. And then like the very last like sentences or two like suggest that something else was actually happening, and it was just confusing, and it didn't really explain things. And I just remember getting to the end of that and going, why was that necessary? Why did you spoil like an okay book and just make it kind of questionable at the end? Like, it didn't seem like the type of book that needed an ambiguous ending, so I don't really know why the author decided to do that, but it was aggravating. So hence, I did not enjoy my time reading it, but Leandra didn't either, so that's okay. Coming in at number 8 is a book that I actually recently just read, and honestly, it was just bad, okay? And that's Merry Ever After by Tessa Bailey. It is the second Christmas novella in the Under the Mistletoe series, which I didn't particularly really love any of those. There were a few that were okay. This one was just bad. It was like 50 pages of just pure cringy smut, which Tessa Bailey has gone downhill in her smut writing, I will just say. And the whole premise, as this girl works at a pants store, and like she's gonna make pants for like this guy client that comes in, and she's like postpartum of 5 months with a newborn, and she's a single mom, and she ends up being with the guy, and then like a week later like they end up like being together, and like he's holding her baby and all these things, and I'm like, you're postpartum, you're a brand new mom, like I don't understand why you would just let any guy into your life. What if this doesn't work out? Like the whole thing was just beyond ridiculous. And then throw in the really cringy smut scenes that were like beyond like I'm a big man and you're a tiny woman. Like it was just gross. No. Hard pass. Probably done with Tessa Bailey after this. The next one is one that I read for the Goodreads Romantic Challenge, and I don't own it anymore. I actually just sold it this morning, and that is The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen. I am not a Greek mythology girly. I love Greek mythology. I love learning about it. I've learned that doesn't translate over into books for me. And so this was not great. And for some reason, I couldn't get with the 20-year-old virgin main character being with like a 300-year-old god. I just don't like that dynamic. That dynamic doesn't work for me. Especially for the fact that it was Hades, not with Persephone. And like, no, I didn't like it. The trials were boring. There were so many trials, I was just done at the point of like the 15th millionth trial. And they were like insta love with each other, which I wouldn't think Hades would be. It was not vibing. It was not jiving. It just did not work. And so I'm sad to say that it's here. All right, number 6. I'm sure nobody is surprised that this made this on here, and that is Assistant to the Villain. Okay. No, it is not a good book. This is literally a case of a TikTok girly that did a little bit pretending to be an assistant to a villain, and a publishing company being like, that's really cool, you should write a book about that. And she's like, okay, sure. That doesn't mean you should, though. That doesn't mean you should write the book, because it's not good. It's not written well. It's very cringe, actually. And the thing that annoyed me the most is the fact that it is told in second person, is it? Where you don't know, like, it'll be like, I told you to stop, the villain said, but like, you're having like a male and a female narrator. So why are we doing that? It would just be, I told you to stop, I said, like, it was really confusing. Like, I don't understand why we made that choice. And it was just not good. So, like, some people should write. Some people shouldn't write. I feel like that's a little hard. But that's kind of how I feel about this. That is my strong take for this, is it should not have been written. And the second one I DNF'd 3 pages in, so I didn't even bother putting it on the spread, the like graphic of DNFs, but yeah, no. Needless to say, I will not read anything this author writes again. Coming in at number 5. Number 5. This one is also from that same Leandra booktuber taste test. I'm so sorry, Leandra. And that is Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors. Now, this cover is stunning to me. It just screams that I need to be read, and I wanted it on my shelves for that very reason. In fact, I think I still actually own this, and it's in my room where my baby girl is sleeping right now. I need to sell it, though. All I have to say about this one is R.I.P. Baby Jesus. If you know, you know. If you don't, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But let's just say, poor little chinchilla baby. That's all I'm going to say. There were a lot of things that didn't work for me in this. It honestly felt very Sally Rooney-esque, which is another reason why I probably wouldn't have liked it, because, like, I'm not a Sally Rooney girly. I don't care for Sally Rooney, especially the whole no quotations thing. I didn't care for any of the characters. I didn't care for the relationship. None of it interested me. They all felt insufferable and aggravating, and I just couldn't get behind anybody of them. And they were making stupid decisions, and making decisions that I just didn't care about. And I just didn't like it. So, I'm sorry, Leandra, once again, that there's a book from there on there, but what else can I do? All right, coming in at number 4 is a book that I literally just read, and I knew was going to be bad, and I read it anyway, and it was in my baking fiasco vlog, if you want to check it out, and that is Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake. And this one saddens my soul, because I read Delilah Green Doesn't Care and Astrid Parker Doesn't Fall, and Delilah Green was in my top 10 books 2 years ago, and Astrid Parker was great, and I'm excited to still read Iris Kelly. But this, it's not the same thing. First off, it's a second chance romance between 2 women, and one that left the other one at the altar and didn't explain, didn't say anything, just left them at the altar. And then 5 years later, you're going to tell me that they're going to have a second chance romance and that you're going to make the girl that was left at the altar the victim throughout the entire book? No. Sorry, no, that's not happening. I'm not going to victimize the person that was literally left at the altar with no explanation whatsoever, and I'm not going to feel bad for the one that did the leaving. Like, you're a shitty person in my eyes, and you always will be. And this book was not good, and the whole thing was just beyond abysmal. And when you find out what actually happened at the wedding, like, I'm just so infuriated. I'm so freaking mad. I am angry about this book when I think about it to this day. It makes me think that I should have put it lower, but honestly, the books that I'm about to talk about, I'm more aggravated at. So yeah, this is not a good book. Don't read it. Will I finish Iris Kelly? Yes, because I'm interested in that trilogy. But will I read anything else by Miss Ashley Herring Blake? I don't honestly know. Because the fact that you would think that this second chance romance is the book you should write kind of concerns me. It concerns me. All right, coming in at number 3, I really don't want to talk about this book. And you saw it in my most disappointed. But it's also here. And that's Never by Jessa Hastings. I love Jessa Hastings, okay? Magnolia Parks is top tier for me. Like, that, I'm still figuring out on this day, even though I have to film tomorrow, my best books. I'm still figuring out my best books. And Magnolia Parks might be the top book. I haven't even figured it out as of today, okay? So to go from that beautiful masterpiece in the sky to this hot steaming trash, I don't understand. It's not like it was even written by the same person. It doesn't feel like it was written by the same person. There are like racist things that she had to take out and like re-edit. There's just, the writing is awful. Wendy is the most annoying person I've ever met in my life, and she loves 2 people that are terrible. Peter Pan is a terrible, awful person in here, and Hook is really awful, and all they do is gaslight her and manipulate her the entire time, and yet she still wants to be with them. I just don't get it. Like, was I supposed to root for either of them? Because they were both awful, and she was just so insufferable and so annoying, and I just couldn't handle any of them, and I just am mad. I'm mad, okay? I don't get why this was written, and I don't get why you took a Peter Pan fairy tale retelling and made it as bad as it is. I just don't get it, Miss Jessa. I just don't get it. And you would think after it tanked so bad that she wouldn't be continuing on, but yet she is. I don't know, guys. I'm still very sad about this. I really am. Miss Jessa, what went wrong here? What went wrong? Coming in at number 2 is a book that I had to read for Battle of the Booktubers. And yeah, it was bad, okay? It was bad. It was bad. And almost every book that I'm talking about so far has had a rant in a blog. Several people are typing. Several people are dying is what I think the title should be. This book, first off, was not really a book that I ever would have been interested in because it's all written through Slack channel, which, like, that's fine, but, like, that's not something that, like, interests me. But then you get to the part where, I'm sorry, this is a mild spoiler. So if you don't want to hear a spoiler for this, then skip it, but I have to talk about it in my rant. Then you get to the part where literally, so the whole premise, you know, which, let me say, so the whole premise we know is that the main character has somehow gotten his essence stuck in the Slack channel, and so his body, like his actual, like, physical being is just in a coma at his house. So then you get where his best friend, he like reaches out to his best friend through Slack and tells him what happens and says, go check on my body at my house. And then he moves him all into his house so he can take a watch on him. And then the sentient being, like I guess his essence, like the robot takes over, like the Slack robot takes over his body and like allows him to have non-consensual sex with his roommate who like knows that like he's not all there and that it's the robot, but like still allows him to do it. And so he's literally getting his body taken over by a robot and it's not consensual and being touched in things and ways, and then waking up to find out that he has a boyfriend now. I'm sorry. Absolutely no. All the boundaries were crossed. That is ridiculous. I don't understand why more people are not talking about this. I had to dig through the 1-star reviews to find the people that agreed with me that this is beyond ridiculous. I'm sorry. If you love this book, that's fine, but no, guys, no, I will not tolerate that. So bad. And then we get to number 1, and when I tell you that the plot of this book is so beyond bad that I spent over 2 hours ranting about this book to Leandra on a car ride home because she also read it. And it is awful. That is Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent. I was expecting to love this book because I heard it was a crazy, out-of-pocket thriller horror that was really interesting and that, you know, would be a good book. It is not a good book. It is the worst book I've read in a hot minute. There are so many triggers in this book. And so many plot points that happen that are just torturing a tiny kid that grows into an adult. And there are so many things that go on in this book. Now, I do have a rant for this book as well. And Leandra has a fabulous rant that you can find in her video. I'll link it below. There are so many things that go on in this book that I go, why? Why did you choose that to be a plot point? Why did we choose for this to happen? Like, this is just awful. It kind of felt like torture stuff, you know, like where you write a book just to make a character suffer as much as you can, but like it doesn't actually further the plot. That's what this felt like, okay? It was not good. I'm really, really angered. I can think of scenes in my head right now where I'm so frustrated at what happened, but like all of them are spoilers. This book is, first off, the plot is just crazy in and of itself. It's literally about an autistic adult that her dad says, when I die, like, incinerate me in our backyard incinerator. And so she takes that literally, and he dies, and she incinerates him. And he goes on the local news because she incinerated her dad, and people are trying to figure out, like, did she murder him? Like, what all happened there? So you have that plot line, but then you have a separate plot line of, like, a murder, or, like, because she was in the news, this murder that, or something that happened in the news years prior, they're like saying she's the same person. And so you're trying to figure out how is she the same person as like the old news event from like 30 years prior. And it's those two timelines coming together. And when I tell you that I'm just so frustrated at how they did this, I'm so frustrated, okay? I could talk about this book for forever. I still remember vividly everything that happened in this book, but I'm going to spare you the time and just urge you not to read this book. I urge you. And if you're one of those people that goes, bet I'm going to read it, then that's on you. I did my due diligence. I tried my best here. Okay? Okay. And with that, my friends, that is all of the top 10 books or bottom books that I did not appreciate this year. I overall had a pretty good year, but these were the ones that didn't quite do it for me. So if you got to the end of this, let's put a diamond emoji for Strange Sally Diamond. Let me know what your worst book was of 2024. I would love to know in the comments down below. And I will see you tomorrow's video where we radiate positivity and sunshine and we talk about my best books of the year. And I thank you very much to all of my residents in my friends themed Patreon. You are fabulous. You are the light of my life. If you want to know more, info is always underneath the videos down below. You can follow me on all social media handles under Rainy Blue Reads. And with that, my friends, I'll see you in a video very soon. Bye.